see something mimicking exactly what I'm putting off going past this front brain, right? To some extent, it's pretty deep. So then we have a shrink and an equine specialist that in turn help the client understand what he's doing in that specific moment that's making the herd do what they're doing in that specific moment. And in doing that over and over, you start seeing so many different sides of yourself that you didn't see before. You know, and it's in doing that, I think that helps us come back to society and be a pushing, a pushing point. You know, in the military, we all want to give. There's no better, service than I think than going into the military for some people. But we still have it, and when we come back, we don't have something huge behind us just to help us help other people. So organizations like CVCU and Sertoma, I think, are a great benefit for so much of us. I'm kind of on loose track. I have a brain injury. I was a bomb tech. Maybe I should do that, a little bio. So I was explosive ordnance disposal. I was special operations in the Navy. There's another gentleman here, Dave. He was a bomb tech as well. He was a captain in the military. I'm kind of losing track here. Let me introduce John, and we'll come back to it. This is John Nasty, the founder of CVCU, and I owe so much of who I am today to this man and his wife. So, thank you.
Wow, Billy. I think I'm going to tell you a story about when I first met Billy. All right? And his fiance called me, and then they set up an appointment to come out. And he just came out to please her. Nobody had a clue what we do or anything out there. So the first biggest step is coming through the gate at the highway. Opening the gate, coming through, that's the biggest step that veterans make coming into the program. Because they're going into the unknown. They're going into the unknown, just like going into battle. I don't care how much training you have. I don't care how much training you have. When you're going into the battle, you're going into the unknown. You don't know what to expect. It's scary. It's full of fear. It's everything. So this recovery process is the same way. You're moving into the unknown again, unknown territory. It's fear involved coming into the program. And I remember when Billy was sitting at the kitchen table, the whole floor was shaking. And he was trying to talk. He has a traumatic brain injury. When he was trying to talk, he would lose it like that, trying to find that word that he wanted to say. What a difference now. Now let's look at him. So, you see, it's not just the PTSD that we work with, but I remember back when I was in high school, I remember reading in a science chronicle of some kind that the human brain is amazing. So, and it said in that article, and I think this is word for word because it just stuck with me. It said, in some cases, with the right stimuli, a healthy part of the brain can pick up the lost functions of a damaged part of the brain. And here's living proof right here, it's working. It's starting to turn that way. And we see it with a lot of other clients that have traumatic brain injuries. So it's not just the PTSD that we deal with. It's military sexual trauma, any military-related PTSD. It's not just combat-related. Okay, I want to kind of pick up where Billy was saying about the horses. Why do we use horses? Well, let me tell you that when we're in military and basic training and so forth, all that training going on, all that stuff going on, our old self had to be pushed aside, and they built this new warrior mentality. And that's who we are. That's it. That's who we are. So then we become the greatest predators ever walked the planet, ever. One-on-one, no one can beat us. No one. That's because of the best training, the best comrades, the best weapons, the best armor. We have the best of everything. Okay? So we go from that the greatest predator ever, and then we get traumatized in the military, that locks that military mind in place. It just cements it in, okay? And you can't touch it. Then we come back and get out of the military or come back stateside, and we go from the greatest predator to feeling like the horse, like prey, like everybody, everything, every place is a threat to us. That's what that trauma does to us. It sets us off in that survival mode. We feel like the horse, we feel like prey, and that's why we use horses. Horses, there's some horse people here I was talking to before, and you'll understand this, but let me tell you how these horses can know what's going on inside of us. It's not magic, it's not a sixth sense, it's that their senses are all way, way beyond ours. 30 times better than ours, their hearing, their sight, everything. If I was a horse, I'm just going to do a demonstration, Billy, stay right there. If I was a horse, here, as it is in here right now, I could hear Billy's heartbeat from here. That's how good the horse's hearing is. And you know that when your sentiments or your emotions change, your heart rate changes, right? So the horse picks it up immediately. If something happens, you change, something's firing you up, the horse says, whoa, just a minute, that's not who I trusted a minute ago. Okay, so I'm the equine specialist and I read what the horse is telling me. So I know when something happens with the clients. I don't know exactly what happened or what they're thinking or what's going on in their mind, but I know something happened. So when we check in with the clients, I'll ask about that. What happened there when that horse, all of a sudden you were approaching the horse and that horse's head came up and took a couple steps back? What was that all about? And then they start talking about it. So the clients actually do the therapy through the horse. We're just the guides. We kind of nudge them into these certain metaphors that happen with the horses, and then they relate it to their lives. It's the same thing going on in their lives. It happens with the horse, the same thing happens in my life. Wow, I handled it with the horse this way. Maybe that's what I had to do in my life. I need to calm myself to get to this horse. Maybe that's what I need to do in my life. And on and trust. I need to trust this horse in order to get it to do something. Maybe I should start trusting people a little more. It's all these metaphors that go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the client does the processing, not us. From week to week sessions, they're thinking about what happened with those horses and relating it all week long until they come back to the next session. So it's just amazing. A horse's night vision is about as good as our day vision. Their eyes are way beyond us. Their sense of smell, they can smell for miles. And so you can't lie to a horse. It's not possible. If you're dealing with a horse and something's firing up in you can't fake it to the horse. The horse knows what's going on inside. So that's how we read the client through the horse when something happens with the client. And then these metaphors that they start practicing and all the tools that we teach out there through the horses, they start practicing them in their everyday life. Their whole life changes. The relationships get better. Everything changes because now we're building a new way of thinking. Remember that military mind, that predator mentality that you can't touch? You cannot touch it. So the only alternative that we found is to build a new way of thinking. Start building a new way of thinking, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And when that new way of thinking meets the power of that military mind, that's recovery. Now I don't have to operate under the military mind. Even today, I have something else to operate under. That's our goal. That's what we do out there. That's what the horses do for us. And I'll get that speeded up. Traditional therapy spends a lot of time spinning their wheels, trying to dig into that military mind and change it. And they're just spinning their wheels. You can't change it. It's there forever. It's locked in. So the only alternative there is to recovery, to further recovery, is building that new way of thinking. And that's what Billy was talking about there. That the horse is a mirror to what's going on inside of us. And it teaches us lessons and tools that we use in our everyday life. And everything changes. Life becomes fun again. There's hope again. You know, it's not just a miserable place that we have to stay in. So I'm going to pass this back to Billy. I think he got his thoughts together here.
So for PTSD and traumatic brain injury, and I've heard John say this before, and he just didn't touch on it, but it's an experience that makes us that changes us in war. It's that experience of war that makes us come back and not know the person that we possess. Does that make sense? So it in turn needs to be an experience to help us, I think, get past that plateau that we get with the regular shrink, the regular sitting across the table, I did this, I saw that, you know. You can only do this so much before it just becomes a monotonous, ongoing thing. That's just the same thing. You're pretty much saying the same thing every time. And this experience of being in front of the horse and being put to a position where you can't lie to your opponent. You'd be more likely to lie to yourself and convince yourself than you'd be to lie to a horse. You know, so you really have to find this truth within yourself, which also helps you find more truth to help you be more productive in society. So I mean, it's just, you know, from any which way you look at this program, and I've looked at it for you know, several years. I was 2.5 years I spent just about every week for my own accord. And it was stimulated because of my fiance saw a change. Every day I came back. And it wasn't apparent to me. But I kept going because she saw a change. And then my family started seeing it. And then I started seeing patterns, because that's what we do. As bomb techs, we look for patterns. And I see these patterns of all these people saying the same thing. And I'm like, oh, well, it must be doing something, right? I'm not fully convinced yet, but, you know, we'll jump on that bandwagon and ride her down the road, right? But, you know, so, as a bomb tech, it's a confident, well-trained bomb tech that's taught to look at things from outside of the box, taught to break things down and reverse engineer so you know how it fully functions before there's a possibility of it blowing up in your face. You apply the same theory, the same theology to this program, and it just makes you want to put more of yourself into it, at least for me. So the deeper you look at this program, I'm sure you're going to find more real passion, and you know, I think the real point why we're all here, why we're all here to support each other and learn from each other, and you know, so I thank you all for coming. I'll stop rumbling on now, and I'll pass it back to Adam here. Thank you.
So hopefully that gives you some insight as to what CVCU does. They take care of veterans with all kinds of distress issues. And it's not just people who have served recently like Billy, but people who have served as far back as Vietnam, all ages, races, men and women. I mean, this is really an important program for our past veterans here in Colorado. So I assume all of you got to see the wonderful live auction items that we have out on this table closest to the, well, between us and the silent auction area. There are a handful of really neat things, and it is my pleasure to introduce one of the greatest live auctioneers in the metro area, Adam Campbell, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody get $2,500, everybody get $3,000, everybody get $35,000, everybody get $5,000, bid $6, everybody get $5,000, bid $6, everybody get $6, everybody get $6,000. Ladies and gentlemen, Stan Becker just gave us